Hello everyone and welcome to the final round of the URL-GT1 Championship. Season 11 will be concluded at the legendary Spa circuit, and here are the Super Pole qualifying results. Everyone got only one lap and Mikko Korkiakoski made it count and took the pole with a 2:12.1. Michal Klisch will be on the grid right beside him, and Miguel Santiago Carao will be starting from third. In the AM Cup, it was Felix Boucher taking another AM pole with quite some margin over Andrei Golubnici and Sando Donadel. So let's have a look at the highlights of the race and let's find out who the champions of this season will be. So here is the grid. Oh, that's Sten Mikkel Olsen jumping the start. He stopped his car again. Gets very tight there in the back. Mikko Korkiakoski has a good getaway. And Miguel Santiago Carao is trying to go around the outside of Michal Klisch. We'll see immediately if that will work. And as you can see, it is raining in Spa, so tire choice will be very important in these opening stages. Most of the drivers will be still driving on slicks. I know that's Robert Horvat going wide and unfortunately taking Sten Mikkel Olsen with him. Felix Boucher made it into P5 with Ethan Bass, P7 right behind Chris Simpson. So a bit of chaos behind with Robert Horvat and Sten Mikkel Olsen, but all is well now. Chris Simpson or Sando Donadel off the track there. Tony Ukic, he was serving a no qualifying penalty, as well as Florian Kutz. They are slicing through the field right now in these changing conditions. It will be a bit easier for them maybe to get to the front and get a good result. So Mikko Korkiakoski and Miguel Santiago Carao got away from the field. Miguel got in front of Michal Klisch, and Alex Scott as well got in front of Michal. So the two McLarens in P2 and 3. Let's see if Miguel can challenge Mikko for first spot. Here's the whole field still very close. Matthias Christensen right behind Sando Donadel, Rob Timpen in P16, then Chris Simpson and Andrei Golubnici, who is the championship leader in the AM Cup. So let's see how far up he gets. Rounding up the lap, coming up on to Blanchimont. Miguel is not close enough to make a move on Mikko Korkiakoski. Tony Ukic already made it up to P5, so he had a rocket start. Oh, and a big slide from Tony, but he manages to save it. And it gets all very crowdy here between Yevgeny Leonov, Felix Boucher, Ethan Bass, and Manuel Liguori. Oh, that's Felix Boucher getting turned around at the final chicane, so he will lose some positions. Here's Florin Manolace, he's in second in the AM Cup, and he still has a chance to take the championship. So let's see how that turns out. End of lap 1, as we saw, Mikko Korkiakoski from Miguel Santiago Carao, from Alex Scott, then Michal Klisch, Tony Ukic, Yevgeny Leonov, Manuel Liguori in P7, then Florian Kutz, Ethan Bass, Robert Horvat, and then the AM guys Felix Boucher, Florin Manolace in P12, so second in the AM Cup, Matthias Christensen, Sando Donadel, Andrei Golubnici, quite some positions behind his rival Florin. Then Rob Timpen, Sten Mikkel Olsen, who jumped into the pits after his jump start, and Chris Simpson is in last position at the moment. So here's Tony Ukic, he's right behind Michal Klisch, who makes a small mistake, understeers off the track. And can Tony put his car on the inside? Yes, he can. They will not go side by side into Blanchimont, and again on the second lap a big slide from Tony, but he manages to keep the car on the track. Rob Timpen in P16, he's right behind Andrei Golubnici, and Andrei will lose another position if he's not careful. Rob getting onto the grass. and Andre quite wise to concede the position to Rob. He is fighting for the AM Championship and also for the Ironman Championship. He can only win one, of course, but still. Robert Horvat, after his crash here in Radillon, he's now behind Ethan Bass and took some more speed through Eau Rouge, and in front, oh, there's Manuel Liguori, and I think it's Florian Kutz. They had a coming together in Radillon and Eau Rouge. So Florian keeps it side by side with Robert, and Robert goes through. So P9 for Florian Kutz. He also had a no qualification penalty. Then Robert and Florian came up on the back of Ethan Bass. Coming out of the final chicane, Ethan gets a bit too much wheel spin, and he will probably lose both positions if Florian gets his braking right for La Source, and he does. So Robert Horvat and Florian Kutz going through for P7 and 8. Mikko Korkiakowski, meanwhile, made a bit of a gap to Miguel Santiago Carao, 3 or 4 seconds. Then Alex Scott and Tony Ukic, and Tony here going through La Source, sliding again. So the rear end of this car is very unstable, as we can see. Oh, big slide. He manages to keep it out of the barriers, but Tony will lose the position to Michal Klisch. And Yevgeny Leonov is also right behind him now, so this will be a battle to watch. Florian Kutz and Robert Horvat, the same. They were battling before, and here Robert gets on the power and his back end starts to slide out. He was lucky to save that. And here going into the final chicane, after some laps, Miguel Santiago Carao also made a spin on the curbs, and just passing the pit entry, he will have a tire puncture, the left front. And that's his teammate Alex Scott going through for P2, and unfortunately Miguel will have to go past the whole track to get into the pits. Tony Ukic just gets past him here, and it seems like Michal had to slow down quite a lot to avoid Miguel's car. And that's Tony retaking the position from Michal, or not. Michal keeps it steady, and I think Michal will keep P3 or not. No, Tony muscles his way through, so he takes P3, and if he can keep that position, he will for sure win the Drivers' Championship. So very strong until now for to start from the back. Here Yevgeny Leonov around the outside of Michal Klisch into the no-name corner. Very impressive driving in the last few races from Yevgeny Leonov. And Michal Klisch is of course also still battling for the Ironman Championship and the Teams Championship together with his teammate Florian Kutz. So he will also not want to try and take too many risks, but a good result of course is mandatory to be a champion. So let's see how far up he gets. Oh, and there's Tony going wide on the same spot where Michal went wide, and he passed Michal in the second lap. So that puts Yevgeny Leonov on the podium again. So very strong driving here. Then it was Ethan Bass here in P11 behind Florin Manolace. Pro against Am. Let's see what happens. Can Ethan get into the top 10? He wasn't able to get on the power early enough to make the pass just now, but if he can get a good exit here and put his nose up the inside, he might be able to make the pass on Florin. Well, not yet. Maybe into Pouhon. Oh, and there's Florin flashing his lights. I think he will be letting him through. He takes the wider line. Very brave move from Florin to take a wide line in these wet weather, difficult conditions. But he lets Ethan Bass through. So there's Mikko Korkiakowski, the leader, with Alex Scott behind, and he has quite a good gap of about 20 seconds. Just before the pit stops, Yevgeny Leonov, as we saw in P3. Then, oh, Yevgeny making a mistake and losing the position to Tony Ukic. So Tony will be in P3 just before the pit stops. Mikko Korkiakowski from Alex Scott, from Tony Ukic. Then it's Yevgeny Leonov, Michal Klisch and Florian Kutt, so the two teammates in P5 and P6. Then Felix Boucher, first one in the AM Cup with quite some margin over Florin Manolache, as we can see. And it's Robert Horvat, Ethan Bass, then Florin Manolache, so he's in P2 for his championship hopes. Then Rob Timpen, Miguel Santiago Carao already in the pits. This is still recovering from his tire puncture. Then Andrei Golubnici behind Matthias Christensen. Sten Mikkel Olsen, after his drive-through in the first lap, is in P15. Then Magno Liguori and Sando Donadel and Chris Simpton, the two teammates. Chris Simpton unfortunately retired from the race, and then it was pit stop time. A lot of drivers pitted on the same lap. The track got a bit wetter, so most of the drivers will be going to wet weather tires. Whether that is hards or softs, that will be the choice of the drivers, so we'll see who gets out the best. Here's Michal Klisch after the pit stop, making a small mistake into Eau Rouge and Radio, and he has to flash his teammate by. Florian Kutt's now up to P7, but there are still some guys in front who have to pit, like Felix Boucher. And on the same lap, oh, big slide from Florian Kutt. I think Florian will get past Florin Manolache, and he hasn't passed yet. Oh, very decisive move here from Florian. Goes up the inside, and that's the difference between wet weather and slick tires here at the moment. Mikko Korkiakowski is behind Ethan Bass, and he didn't pit yet, so this is 4th position. Mikko will make the pass. He's also on wet weather tires. I think Ethan is trying to stay out as long as he can and see what the weather will do. Will it get drier? Will it get even wetter? And here in front it's also Florin Manolache letting the leader through. Ethan Bass also making the move, the over-under. Miguel Santiago Carao was then in P7 behind Tony Ukic, and Tony Ukic suffered from the same problem. He had a tire puncture, and Miguel could just about avoid him coming up to Blanchimont, but he couldn't avoid the wall. So a bit of damage and a lot of time lost, and the position to Robert Horvat. Very, very difficult to well, make a lap here with a tire puncture and a wet track. Tony Ukic, after his pit stop for repairs, came out in P10. He's behind Ethan Bass now, who also made the pit stop. Very tricky, as you can hear here. It's a big lift in Radillon to keep the car from understeering. And Tony will make the move on Ethan, and he will make the pass. We can see here Rob Timpen. He's a lapped car, and in front is Mikko Korkiakowski. And Tony and Ethan still battling, so he's not in front yet. Tony now on the outside. How late will he dare to brake? Quite late, but Ethan stays on the inside, and Rob stays in front. So that will not be easy to negotiate. Ethan will want to stay in front, and they will go 3 wide into Plouron. let's see who is the bravest of these three drivers. Rob gets out of the way, and it's Ethan who takes the position, but they all go wide onto the runoff area. But at this point it's Ethan in front, and Tony here then making the move on Rob Timpen. So let's see if Tony can still get past Ethan Bass or not. Here is the final corners of the race and of this season. Mikko Korkiakoski will take another win this season at Spa in raining conditions after 1 week of absence. Very dominant performance. He lost a bit of time in the pit stops to Alex Scott, but he had superior pace and could eke out the gap to get a comfortable first place here. Tough race, tough season, but another win to add to his tally. Second place, as already said, Alex Scott steadily here driving, so the whole race was a wet race. Florian Kutz, he made it up to P3 after all the pit cycles went through. His teammate in P4, so that will put them firmly and strongly in the P2 position of the team's championship. Robert Horvat in P5, then Miguel Santiago Carao, so he made it up to P6 after the tire puncture. Felix Boucher will win the AM race here at Spa in P7. Very good result from him. Tony Ukic will finish in P8. We will see the consequences of that later on. And here Ethan Bass rounding up the top 10. Florin Manolace very, very close to Andrei Golubnici. They are on the same lap, battling for the championship, but one place be in front of Andrei will not be enough to take that championship away from him. That was the rest of the finishers, and here is the final result for Spa. Mikko wins almost half a minute in front of Alex Scott, and Florian Kutz is in third. Fastest lap was set by Miguel Santiago Carao on lap 2 when it was still quite dry. As already said, Felix Boucher will win the AM Cup race in front of Florin Manolace and Andrei Golubnici. So very, very close, these two title contenders. And let's have a look at the final championship standings for season 11. Tony Ukic had a very tough end of the season with 8th place here at Spa, but he will still take the championship just in front of Robert Horvat and Florian Kutz. Mikko Korkiakoski will finish in 4th. Then for the AM Cup, it was, as I said, Andrei Golubnici taking the championship in front of Florin Manolace. Only 7 points difference between these two, and Felix Boucher won the 3 last races in the AM Cup and jumped up to onto the podium, but no higher place for him in the mix. Then we go on to the team's championship. BNT competition had a very strong start to the season. The end was a little bit less, with Tony Ukic and Peter Bakus not competing even in the last race. Tony Ukic finishing in 8th, as we saw. So they took quite a dominant win in the team's championship for the 3rd time in a row. Florian Kutz and Michal Klisch were closer than the second team was last year. So it's getting closer and closer. 3rd spot on the podium was for URL Motorsports, Miguel Santiago Carao and Alex Scott. And then the final championship of this season was the Ironman Championship. Andrei Golubnici was in 1st place going into the Spa race, but as race winners and championship winners are excluded from this championship, it will be Michal Klisch taking the 1st spot in front of Miguel Santiago Carao and Alex Scott. So we want to congratulate all the champions, all the podium finishers, and all the racers that competed in this season 11. And we hope to see you all next season in GT1, and next season will probably start somewhere in September. So keep checking UnitedRacersLeague.com and come race with us.